Welcome to the Sisterhood of Sweat. I'm here today with Angela Gargano. Angela Gargano is a fierce athlete, coach, international fitness model, and speaker. Before becoming a full-time, multi-passionate entrepreneur, Angela worked as a biochemist at Brown University. Since throwing in the lab coat and goggles in 2013 to open her own gym in Cranston, Rhode Island, Angela has truly lived multiple lives in the athletic and entrepreneurial space, defying odds and setbacks to become an authentic and relatable voice to the public eye. Angela has now competed on American Ninja Warrior 4 times, won the title of Miss Fitness America 2016, and created an online fitness empire for women called Strong Feels Good, where she teaches women to ditch the scale and focus on strength and feeling as a way to measure progress. She has helped over 500 women conquer their pull-ups with her online program, Pull-Up Revolution. In summer 2021, Angela appeared all over the world as the Oxygen magazine cover girl, where she spoke about tearing her ACL on the Ninja Warrior course and coming back 11 months later, stronger than ever. Angela is a huge advocate for speaking about body image, as she was made fun of growing up for her manly arms and build. She would hide in a sweatshirt daily at school to avoid being made fun of and was rejected by many fitness modeling agencies. But this didn't stop Angela from now having 3 magazine covers and becoming an international fitness model in some of the world's biggest publications: Women's Health, Shape, Strong, Fitness Magazine, and Pop Sugar Fitness. Angela is strong, both mentally and physically, and she teaches you to love the body you're in. And there's just so much more about Angela, but today I just truly enjoyed having my friend on that I've competed with in Fitness America, Fitness Universe, and so many things. And her enthusiasm is so contagious. You guys are going to love her. Today, we just really talked about goal setting and going after your goals, vision boards, since this is coming up on January, achieving your highest visions and believing in yourself, and also how to come back after a catastrophic accident, divorce, incident, where you're blindsided and you wonder, who are you now? And what are you going to be able to do? Kind of an all is lost moment. I kind of talked about that on my Friday Let It Rip. And I think it's important because we all have them at some point in our life. So learning how to be resilient and how to make the best out of what happens to us and focus on what we can do instead of what we can't. This was so good today. You guys are going to be so inspired by Angela Gargano, Ninja Warrior. I'm excited to welcome my friend Angela Gargano today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Well, I'm always excited to have you on the show. You guys will have to go back to one of our prior episodes. But Angela is very bubbly, always, as far as I've ever seen you. Do you ever have a bad day?
Oh yeah, plenty of bad days, but I always tend to smile at some point throughout the day, even if it's bad.
Yeah, bubbly and positive. Total PMA, positive mental attitude. I don't think it matters where I have seen you. You're always a bundle of energy, very positive mindset. And I want to be around people like that. I think people like that exude the energy that's contagious. Have you always been like that? And if not, Tell me a little bit about what helped you to get in this kind of state of mind.
Yeah, I feel like I don't know if I've always been like super positive, and I still have a lot of thoughts that creep in. I think you learn how to manage them more. And I think that's really important to know, right? Because then someone might be like, well, oh my goodness, like I shouldn't be having these thoughts. It's like, no, a lot of those thoughts are like very, very natural to have and sinking into them. But I think I just learned how to deal with them a lot better. But there were definitely moments where I was definitely like super, super low and having a really hard time with it. And I noticed that the people around me will really know, like the people who like are closest to me, they'll recognize it. Maybe not like, people on Instagram or whatever, but people like next to me will be like, oh, you're not, like, you're definitely feeling a little different right now. I think the biggest moment was definitely, when I tore my ACL on Ninja Warrior. I definitely sunk real deep into a hole. Like I was in the probably deepest like depression ever. So I think a lot of people started to see the energy like drop down a little bit. Like again, I was showing up and doing what I needed to do. And I think that was actually because I was fighting the feeling. So I think when you fight against whatever it is that you're feeling, that and you're trying to have resistance to it because you're like, I'm supposed to be the strong one, I'm supposed to be like happy and stuff like that. I think that's actually where people like will run into problems instead of being like, you know what, it's okay, like I can feel this way, let myself feel that way, and then like take steps on to trying to figure out what I can do to get myself to feeling a little bit better. So I think it's really important to acknowledge that you really need to feel whatever it is because it's completely normal. We're all human. We all have those thoughts or we have those bad days and things along those lines.
So I could so identify with what you said about falling into not being the happiest, like even if you are a positive mental attitude person, we all have real days. And I can identify with the ACL injury because I had mine in 2006, 2 weeks before a show. And I ended up being the trophy girl at that show, but I think I was heavily medicated. Handing out trophies in pain with the leg because I was actually helping host the show. And so I just, I remember after the surgery, just you have this like identity crisis somewhat of who you thought you were, who you think you're supposed to be, you think everyone sees you as. And I had a competitor, I don't know if you know her, but she won Miss Fitness USA, Kara Kakanis. She used to do Fitness America and stuff. She sent me like this book, and it was really like full of like, I don't know, things that lifted my mental mindset, just the way that I was thinking. But also she asked me in the card, what is the gift in your injury? Oh my gosh, I was not thinking, are you freaking kidding me? Like, but then I thought about it and I thought, okay, I see what you're saying. There could be something good that comes from this. And I don't know, like, I know I've seen your story. So we're definitely going to dive into how every time something really bad happens, you have that end of the world moment kind of thing. If you're looking for the gift, it's the biggest transition usually and catalyst for change. How did that happen with you when this ACL tear occurred?
Yeah, I love to like say it as for me physically, and even for you when you were seeing, like you can physically see it, it's like almost like growth hurts. Like it's gonna hurt. Like it's gonna be uncomfortable. It may not be an ACL injury, it might be like a breakup, it might be a car accident, it might be you get fired or leave your job or whatever it might be. But I definitely feel like, yeah, the big piece of it for sure was my identity. I place my identity in so many different things. And honestly, like I still struggle with a lot of these things. I'm just still working on them in so many ways. But I was struggling with, okay, I tore my ACL. I was owning a gym at the time. I'm like, now I can't show up as my full self because I can't really walk. So I'm literally like have my leg up the entire time trying to coach people. And I'm like, oh, people are trying to look at me as being the strong one. And here I am like training my butt off and then getting injured. Like, what does that look like? Like all these mental things. And then, you know, not, you know, who am I without Ninja Warrior? Who am I when I'm not an athlete? Like, I'm not an athlete, so am I anything? Does anybody care about me? Like, all these thoughts were coming through my head, and it definitely leaves this emptiness. It leaves this loneliness. Like, who am I without all those things? And you really have to dig deep and start to realize that you're so much more than just those things. Like, those things are important. Those things are awesome. Those things are accomplishments, but that's not exactly who you are, right? Who you are is the person that overcomes that adversity, who overcomes those really tough times. So that's really what I had to discover within myself, is that when I look at myself, yes, I was a Ninja Warrior, I was all these things, but from the injury, I started to realize, like, no, I'm dedicated, I'm consistent, like, I'm a good person. Like, there's so many other things that I started to realize that defined me, like, more than just like being an athlete or being a gym owner or being all these things. So really having to sit myself and say, no, I'm happy with who I am as a person, and that's actually what matters. So a lot of things that helped me with that growth opportunity was, one, like I said, really sitting in the suck, like sit in the suck, really understanding it. And again, when we talk about these stories, like, you're hearing me say this story as if it happened within like a week or two. This is like months of you sitting in the suck. And then the next piece of that is, okay, cool, sit in it, feel it. You got to feel all those things. And the next piece of that growth opportunity is, instead of thinking about all the things you can't do because of whatever just happened, what can you do? What do you now have the opportunity to do that you didn't have the opportunity to do before? And I had the opportunity to sit down and to sit with my thoughts. I had the opportunity to work on my mental game. So it turned into meditating. It turned into journaling, which my whole life I loved journaling, but I kind of, got away from it because I was doing so much with my sport, right? So sitting down and really writing out my thoughts and journaling, meditating, talking about the things I am grateful for. So I really think like sitting with myself was a huge piece of that growth opportunity, for me to come back stronger. But like I said, I still have moments where I have those things where I'm not doing things I used to do before. And I start to ask myself, like, do I actually matter? What is the next thing? And I have to keep reminding myself that, just doing what I'm doing now, just being me, none of those things actually matter. You don't need all of those things. You just need yourself.
Oh my gosh. So I love everything you said. And for everyone listening, this is like the journey for, I hate to say it, but it's a very similar journey when something like this catastrophic happens to you, that everyone goes through. And when you could either stay in your mess, like sink down further, or decide to move forward, no matter how messy, get back up, and also embrace the suck. You said, like, that's very important to recognize that, surrender to where you're at instead of fighting where you're at. Just surrender to what's going on and see what it can teach you, see what you can gain that you weren't using. Maybe you weren't utilizing all of these other things. You were running past things that maybe you would be doing because you were just too busy doing that. And there's so much good that could be gained from recognizing you got to surrender. And what you said, really key, is focus on what you can do, because there's so much you can do, and stop focusing on everything you can't do right now, maybe can't do anymore, or can't do for a while, because that's self-defeating, to be focusing on the can'ts. And so I think turning the corner is acceptance, then focusing on what you can do, and realizing that who you are is not tied up into what you do.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Right? So much. And Kara Kakinis, I gotta say, I think she's Kara McKnight now. She married one of the Brady Bunch. But she also tore her ACL. And competed, and she had to take out elements that she would normally have done coming back from that. And she ended up winning for the first time Miss Fitness USA. And so what you think you have to succeed is not necessarily, it's not necessarily true. Because I will tell you, when it's your time, when it's your turn, you're going to succeed beyond your wildest dreams. I never once at 60 imagined that I just wanted to get back up, and I kept dreaming I could do a routine. I never dreamed at 60, I'm going to walk away being able to call myself fitness universe champion, right? I wasn't my leanest ever that I've ever been. It wasn't my most difficult routine that I have ever done. I had to take out elements just like my friend Kara. So I think you just have to recognize that even though it feels like an all is lost moment, that is just what you've put in your mind. It isn't, everything is not lost. And you may gain more than you lost, even though it feels very sucky at the time. So tell me, you moved on through this injury. How did you do it? For everybody out there that maybe is injured, maybe they haven't got their shape back from having babies, or maybe they've gained 50 pounds. How can they move forward?
Yeah, like I said, it's really focusing on what you can do. So I worked on a lot of like mental stuff, mindset stuff. I know I didn't have my leg. I couldn't really walk for, a couple of months. There's like a bunch of issues that I had with it, but I had my upper body, I had my core. So I worked on all those different areas instead, and really took the time and opportunity to, again, do the things that I wasn't doing before, like journaling. It doesn't have to be, I know physical like exercise and being an athlete is also like a mental thing, and that's why a lot of people move because like they're trying to get, mental, whatever, but there's different ways that you can work on your mind that doesn't need to be working out. So I learned a lot of those things that you can do, like I said, with the meditation, with the gratitude, just sitting there, and really like a lot of mindset work that seemed really woo-woo before that. Like, I'm like, this is so dumb. This is so woo-woo. And then after doing it daily on the regular, waking up every day and doing some kind of meditation and some kind of gratitude, I didn't see it instantaneously, like the effects of it. But now after time, I notice you feel calmer, you feel better. Like, it's wild how it will rewire your brain if you do it consistently. So, no matter where you're at right now, go back to those little things, those little habits, those mindset things. They will literally do so much. And they're particularly really important to do on those days you don't want to do them. The days that you're like, I don't want to show up and I don't want to write 3 things I'm grateful for because I'm not grateful right now. Just write it down. Be like, I'm grateful for the air. I'm grateful for breathing, like whatever. Make it super simple, but just keep showing up every day with those things. And you'll see so much happen with your mindset, and it will really help you turn the corner as you're going through all those emotions.
And Angela is not giving herself enough credit and sometimes we forget because we've moved on so far from where we fell. But I remember seeing your posts where you are literally in your ACL. What is
brace,
that?
The big
brace.
brace.
I couldn't think of it. You got this big old, I know the brace, this big ass brace on your leg. And you are literally like doing what you can, like what you said, but you are doing with her legs straight out in front of her, like in an L sit. She's doing like pull-ups off the ground. She's doing all kinds of crazy things, like crazy, amazing, still amazing. That's the thing, is to recognize you're still probably more, amazing than you realize. You're
and
still
if anything too, like by doing that, and then also sharing like, hey, I'm doing all these things right now. I was just sharing on social media. That's before social media was like this whole big thing. Like, I didn't really know it was going to turn into like what it is now. But I remember just sharing my vulnerability with it, sharing that like, this is really hard. I'm having a really hard day. Like, sharing myself, like, as I'm sitting there and I find out I have a blood clot in my leg, and there's like a whole thing. And I shared all those stories. And because I shared those stories, so many around me were like, wow, this is really encouraging to see you pushing through and continuing to go, to see you down and up. Because that's life. Life is not you just always being happy and crushing it all the time. Life has seasons, lots of seasons, and you're going to see the seasons in all different ways. And you might have a winter, even if it's not winter. You might be in winter for a little bit, but that after that winter, you're going to have a summer, you're going to have a spring, like things are going to get better. So it's always like recognizing that as you're going through it, that, yeah, and sharing it with people. Don't hide about it. I think people will relate to a lot of the things that we're going through, but maybe they didn't talk about it enough. And that actually really helps you get through it. Cause like, oh, same. Like,
you have to choose. This is the other thing that people have to recognize, is that everything you do at that point is a choice.
yeah.
Doing nothing is a choice. Staying in, it's easy to do, but the pity parties are a choice. It's okay to feel bad. Of course, you're not going to be rejoicing when you tear your ACL. You're not going to be like, oh, I'm so excited.
Right.
But you do have choice when finally, when you've come back down to the ground and you realize, okay, like
I definitely feel like now too, when like something bad happens, because stuff's gonna keep happening to you, even if it's not an ACL tear. I feel like I bounce back a lot quicker. Like the first time it took a long time to like get through it. Now the second time it's like same thing, like you're not like, yay, I'm so happy something happened, but you're like, okay, this sucks. And you sit back and you take a breath and you're like, okay, I've done hard things before. Something like this has happened before. What do I need to do? And then it seems a little easier when something happens the next time, because you're just more like, oh, like I've done this before and I got through it. Like I was okay.
And as in my case, in the older age, in menopause, ripping everything from my pelvis, 3 separate injuries, I literally got the talk from the physical therapist, maybe you should be done with that. And I listened, because I start by the 3rd injury. I should have listened after the first. I listened because I was like, okay, I'm breaking my body down, obviously, because it's tearing down. So how can I build my body up? And I had to back everything down. I had to take it down a notch. I had to surrender. I gained 35 pounds, and I was still working out. I was still eating good. It was just because I think my body was like having this, I think it felt like trauma from all of those injuries. It was trying to protect itself.
Yeah.
And I think just realizing, like, just the hardest part again was embracing that suck and saying, okay, I don't want to stay here. I don't want to stay here. And yes, it's hard it was horrendous. It was worse than the ACL by far, to move forward. And also I never thought I was going to be able to do fitness again, but I couldn't hang it up. But I never thought I would be able to do it again. And so you don't know what you might end up being able to do again, even when you've had some horrific injuries, because your body can heal. I think your mind is your body is your mind is your body. And you have to realize that the mind rules the roost. And so some things may not seem medically impossible. I mean, possible, not impossible. But with good healing, good sleep, good nutrition, good strength training, a great mindset, you might just surpass where you were before, even with these horrific things, or a divorce. Somebody cheats on you, and then they take all the money and they divorce you, and you're like, I'm 60 and like, or however old you are, I'm 40 with 3 kids. Just realizing that you have bounced back, and you have bounced back, Angela, so much from that time. And I want everybody to realize that this was horrific for you, but you have been a 5-time ninja warrior, and you created your own brand, really, I think, out of what happened to you, because that's when you started doing all those crazy pull-ups.
Yeah, I definitely was. I definitely feel like, the ACL definitely taught me a few different things. Like, number one, I definitely learned that I owned a gym at the time. And I think you knew me then, which is why we used to do fitness competitions together. So I owned a gym at the time. I was doing fitness competitions before that. There was a lot happening. And I recognized and realized that, you know what, like, I don't really want to own this gym anymore. I thought that was the next thing to do. I thought that like being a personal trainer, working from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. at night, but like the next thing is everyone's like, when are you opening your gym? When are you opening your gym? So I was like, oh, I guess that's the next thing I'm supposed to do. So I went ahead and did it. I ripped the Band-Aid off, but I realized when I was in it, I recognize these feelings. It took me tearing my ACL to be like, wait, no, like this is not my reality. Like anything can happen at any point in my life, and this is not how I want my life to be right now. So it helped me get out of owning the gym. So I closed the gym down, which was very, very hard. I was so nervous to disappoint all these people that we created such a community, but they were so understanding, and they were like, no, like we get it. Like you're ready. Like you're ready to bloom into the next thing. So after that, I actually had to move back home, which is crazy, like into my like parents' basement, which felt awful. Like, okay, cool. After college, here I am in my college, like in my dad's basement. But I was commuting into New York City in and out, and I'm like, I want to learn from the best. I want to be the best. Like that's what I wanted to do. I had this passion. I knew that it's like when I knew I was meant for more. I didn't really know fully like what it was going to be, but I just knew that there was more for me out there. So busted my ass, went into New York City in and out, met all the people I needed to meet, created great relationships, learned from the best of the best. And as I was doing this, I had a lot of women asking to work on their pull-up and especially older women who are like 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, they always had this goal of getting their pull-up. They're like, Angela, I see you doing these pull-ups all the time. I see you a Ninja Warrior. I just want to be able to do one. It's been a goal of mine since I was a kid. And the amount of times I still hear it repeated after over and over again. Oh, it's been my year. It's been my goal for so long to get it. I still don't have it. And it's like the universe is like telling me like, this is it. Like, this is what you need to do. So I started helping these women conquer their pull-ups. And then what I started noticing as I was doing it in person was that when they did conquer it, because they always conquered it, is that it ignited this confidence, this excitement that really helped expand into all areas of their life, which is so incredible. And after I saw that in person so many times, I was like, this is what I need to be doing. Yes, it's an interesting entryway into becoming the most confident version of yourself, but helping women conquer their pull-up is going to help them conquer so many other things in their life. It's going to help them do something that's really hard, because it is not easy. You're going to go through things like I'm talking about, where you're frustrated and it's annoying, but if you're consistent and you keep showing up and you have somebody there encouraging you, you'll realize that you can do hard things, and you can do hard things in all areas of your life. So I just decided one day, like, this is it. I'm going to be the pull-up girl. I'm going to help women conquer their pull-ups. And I decided to go all in on that. I actually took a couple of classes on like how to train online, but I have to say, I was really happy that I had the experience of training people in person, being with them one-on-one, learning how to speak to them, really being with them. Because I feel like some people make the jump to like going online and they didn't have that experience. So you're not able to like create the real connection with these people, because you've never really worked with people like right in person in front of you, like as they're going through things. So I'm so happy I went through that. And then, yeah, so we created this entire program. And these are the programs I created are programs I've done with women over and over again. They've been tweaked over and over again. So I didn't just like throw up a program online and say, go do your pull-ups. I literally did these programs so many times with people. I changed them. I made them better. I saw what worked, what didn't work. So made all the adjustments. And then I threw it online, and that's a whole other animal. But I mean, it was a lot of learning things that I had to do online, computer, techie stuff, whatever. But now we've been doing it since, like 2018, which is a long time. And we've helped like thousands of women get their pull-up at this point now, which is really exciting. But like I said, it's not about the pull-up. Every single woman who has gotten their pull-up with me I always see them doing something really great, like with themselves after they get it. I always hear them say things like, someone said the other day, this was more, what they said, it was more exciting than getting my PhD in college or something. So like, it was harder, but it was so important that you went through that process. And I hear that over and over again from people. And I'm like, this is what I'm meant to be doing. So I was able to really channel what happened with me to my ACL and turn it into helping people with their pull-up, and really teaching people that like a lot of the things that happened in my life, they did not come easy, like the pull-up, but you can get through it. And when you do, you'll be able to get through all the things. So, and that's a big, long-winded approach to it. But yeah, so now we're just online, just helping women, just women.
Oh, I love that. because I agree with you wholeheartedly. I know doing Spartan races, when I was going to climb the rope the first time, it was swinging over water really high up, and
Yeah.
there was not a knot in the rope, and I jumped up, but then I slid into the water the very first time. And then the second time, I don't remember what. I think I did the 30 burpees. I did not climb the rope. And then the third Spartan, I saw people falling off. They were dropping like flies, men included. And I was about ready to just elect to do the 30 burpees. And I thought, no, I'm going to give it one more try. And I ran, and I said, I got to get above the knot. And I jumped up on the rope, and I climbed to the top. And what that showed me was always to give it one more try. Like when you think like you can't do something, don't quit, don't give up. And it also was so empowering and built confidence that I could do that with other things, not just the rope climb. So I see what you're saying with the pull-ups. It does build confidence when you do something and you learn that you couldn't, but now you are. And so what else can you apply these principles to? And it's such a winning mindset to take into your life. And you call this pull-up revolution.
Yeah, because I want them to revolutionize the way they feel about their body. That was literally my whole idea behind it. It was like, I want them to, like, I could have made the program called like Learn Your Pull-Up or something, but I really wanted to be different. Like, this is not just you getting your pull-up. This is like a whole game changer of your life next. And that's what I want people to really recognize. And I think it's a great goal to start with too, right? Some people are always trying to figure out what their new goal for the new year is going to be. And people do put pull-ups on their list, and it's like on their list, but like they're kind of doing it. They're doing a couple assisted pull-ups here or there, like whatever. They're not really actually trying to learn it. I love telling people, like, see if you can commit honestly to just going all in on your pull-up for your 6 weeks. Because once you get it, it's going to be the thing that's going to boost you. It's going to be like that catalyst to like get you to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. I see so many changes come in people's life when they, again, go all in on like that one skill, that one thing that's really, really hard. And then they're able to continue like their journey. I mean, a lot of these women that I've helped, they went from like literally just being like, I'm over fitness, I'm tired of this like bikini body, weight loss thing, whatever. Okay, cool. Like, let's work on a skill. Let's just do a skill,
Right.
Get a skill. And now from that, now they're like, oh, cool. Now I actually have a bikini body. Like, I actually look really good. Wasn't even the goal. And now they're more excited to show up for their fitness goal for whatever the thing might be next. Like, again, maybe it's a Spartan race, or maybe it's a bikini competition. Maybe it's just to like feel really good in those jeans that you had in your closet for so long and that you wanted to like pull yourself back into. So there's a lot that comes with working on a skill. And
it's
then,
more like being an athlete. Like, it's versus, the things we think we need, or the things that we think are necessarily working for us. So many times we don't let go of things that really aren't working for us. We want to keep doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. I know somebody hears a quote in there, but what I am thinking about is recently Shailene Johnson, who did Turbo Kick, Pio, Hip Hop Hustle, sold all of her stuff to Beachbody. She really does. She was a fitness guru, but she doesn't consider herself in fitness anymore. Well, she's in better shape now than she was then, because she gave up the idea that she had to do intense cardio. She started weight training 3 times, like for the legs alone, 3 times a week for the legs, walking, not all of the intense running, and, having some of the stuff she wanted to eat. And literally she dropped over a year's time because she wasn't stressing her body out so much. She dropped 9% body fat. And like, holy cow, I was looking at her physique and I was like, wow, you go, girl.
It's insane when you change your mindset too with it. Cause right, I feel like a lot of people think there's one way to do it, like there's one way to like get the
Yeah.
body that you're looking for, but there's
Right.
not. And
There's
like,
multitude.
yeah, exactly. And me and you have gone through this so many times when we did our fitness competitions. And it's interesting because I feel like the people right now who are around me, they weren't with me during our fitness competition days. But I always assumed that the way to get to the body that I wanted was literally like eating like my meal prep meals that we're sometimes discussing with no seasoning on it, like just all those different things. But then after evolving through that, and again, you're nodding your head because you know, like when you get so sick of it and you don't want to do it anymore, it's not fun anymore. But then you realize, like you said, you can work on some strength training stuff. It doesn't have to be as intense. You can have your cookie every single day if you want to, and you're gonna be fine. You're gonna look fine. You're gonna feel great. And there's just so many different approaches on like what you can do to set your goals to really be in great shape with yourself.
I mean, yes, I went to France. I was drinking Prosecco, having bread, chocolate mousse.
We'd never have done that before. No chance. Like if I was in the comp, I was like,
competition. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And then I went to speak every week in New York, ran a business, and then went to Fitness Universe. So like,
yeah,
it wasn't the way I would normally have trained for a show.
Yeah.
Right. And so
Yeah.
that I think you learn, oh, I lost weight when I was in France.
I know, right? I'm eating
I only worked out twice when I was in France, and I had a great time. I didn't miss my son's, amazing moment at Cannes. And I mean, well, so many people say it so many ways. I think the French may say it canes. We always called it canes. And then my husband told me it was con. I am so confused. Somebody out there, please correct me on how to say this. But I'm just saying it was living life, and then also recognizing, oh, like my metabolism's back from all those injuries. I can eat carbs. And I need to eat carbs. I need to eat carbs for performance.
Yes.
That was the first time I ate carbs all the way up to the show. When I won, I ate carbs all the way up to the show.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I remember like one of my last shows, actually no, the show before my last show that I did, I remember like standing up and like almost fainting because I literally didn't have enough carbs in my system. And then the last show, I was like, oh no, I'm not doing that again. And I ate the carbs and I won. Like, so it's like, it was like, I remember standing up and literally being like, wait, my body, I'm like literally doing this 3-minute routine, like flipping around on the stage and doing these crazy moves. And I literally, I need this fuel in my body. It's interesting. I told myself that if I ever go back to competing again, because sometimes I get like the itch, I'm like, I kind of just want to flip again on the stage. I said that I would actually do it and record it and show people that I'm not going to diet.
See, I like that. But I also I think that we get stuck in this way of thinking we have to do everything a certain way and deprive to be worthy of earning whatever. And it isn't necessarily true, because performance does not come from restriction. If you are doing a fitness routine, I can't tell you how many times I had not Kathy Savage, but coaches that restricted my water before I'm giving a fitness routine.
Yeah.
How can you help to deliver a great performance if you're not hydrated? Also,
exactly.
And no fuel. And also think about it. When I think about it, I looked it up. You can tear muscles when you're dehydrated and you're performing. So I really changed my mindset completely around everything I've done since I came back from my injuries. And one was, I was already worthy before I ever lifted one weight, one trophy, did one competition. So I wasn't in it to prove my value anymore. I already knew my value. I already knew that I was worthy. And I think we can be doing that when we're after achievements or accolades in so many ways. And it's to recognize, because once you get there and you get that thing, it isn't what you thought, right? And you realize, oh, well, what was I chasing that thing so hard for? What did I really want? And how can I give that to myself? Or how can I have that? Because it isn't from the thing I thought.
Yeah, I love what you just said there. I was actually just thinking, coming back to both moments for before I won Miss Fitness America in 2016 and right before I went and crushed like the ninja course for my injury. I remember both of those days before I went up. I was behind stage or behind literally, and I remember just saying, like looking up at the universe and just being like, I did it. Like, I'm good. Like, I didn't even care about the competition at that point, which I thought was really interesting. The times I won. The times I didn't win, it was like, oh my God, I want this trophy, whatever. But like, I sat back and I was like, before I went up, I was like, you know what? Like, cool. like you know what I mean? Like, I was like really proud of myself for just being there. And at that point, it didn't matter if I got the trophy. And I think that's part of the reasons I did win those 2 ones. But going back to like finally getting those things, right? Getting Miss Fitness America, going through the ninja course, specifically for me, this Oxygen magazine cover, oh my goodness, finally getting that. I was like, oh, like it's all this whole thing. But yeah, you realize once you're there, you're like, cool, okay, I got it. But if you go back, like you just said, and instead say to yourself, oh, I was worthy, like with or without the magazine, this is great. This is like a great bonus. Like, so happy that I have it. Such a great achievement.
Right.
But it wasn't about the achievement. When I got this cover, I was so proud of this girl. Like, this was something that I wanted this cover for years. 2015, I'm sending it into Oxygen, like myself photoshopped on the cover. I'm like, put me on the cover, put me on the cover. But I wouldn't have been proud of that girl then because I had a lot to learn. I didn't have a story, I didn't have a thing. But this girl who got on the cover, thank goodness it took that long to get on there because there's a story in there. There's impact in there. And you know, I didn't need the cover for that, but it was a great way, an opportunity to share that. But I love what you just said there. I mean, you don't really think that. You always think I have to have that thing, but it really is that journey. And like you said, really accepting yourself with like, if I don't get it, fine. Like, it's okay. Like I did all the work. I put it in there, showed up for myself. I'm a better person. I'm feeling good in my body. Those are the things that like actually matter.
Well, those are the things that you're actually gaining from what you're doing. And you know, and so much more, like the belief in yourself to realize you can set a goal and accomplish it. There's so much that you can like gain out of pushing yourself and challenging yourself and not quitting and not giving up. But again, not one trophy ever made you worthy. You were already worthy before.
Ooh, I feel like that needs to be like the quote, not one trophy ever made you worthy. I love that.
Yeah. And so I think like after like what you said, getting on the cover, the funniest thing is I wanted to be on Miss Fitness USA. I got to do this cover shoot way back. And that was when digital had just maybe started. I think he was backing it up on disc. He literally lost all of it.
Oh my God.
And I didn't get to be on the cover after being promised. And, you know, I was already 40 and the years began rolling on. And I remember thinking, wow, maybe that time has just come and gone. You know, I'm getting up there. And it was during the pandemic that I thought, wow, this has been a scary time. Whatever happened to dreaming? And you know what? God is in charge. Our dreams aren't canceled and we can still dream. And so I remember that day writing, because I just thought, oh, I'd been caught up in surviving. I wrote down all these dreams that I had and they started showing up one by one. And the biggest thing, I think, was recognizing why I wanted them. Because what you said was really important. You had a story. And why I wanted to be on the cover was so different than it was way back when. Why I wanted to impact millions of women, what I wanted to achieve from it. And when I had my why, that's when everything else showed up for me. And I think like having that why, it changes what you're doing, why, why are you actually doing it?
Yeah.
And so it made it so much sweeter. And
Not
I
just a
think,
pretty girl on the cover. It's like our story is going to impact people. Like there's such a bigger impact than just, yeah, another person with abs on the cover. Like it's like, okay,
yeah,
like that's what I wanted to be when I first literally when I wanted the cover, it was like, that's what my thought was. I want to be that girl on the cover. But there was no deeper
right?
meaning.
It's like
Yeah.
little girls wanting to be Charlie's Angels, or wanting to be supermodels, or everybody wants to be that it girl, or they want to be recognized, they want to have that recognition. But
Yeah.
it really changed for me. I really want to reach 1 million women to believe in themselves, to have self-confidence, to know what they're worthy of and not settle for less. And it was just this whole reason and mission. And then it
Yeah.
showed up for me, but not once, but twice. And then 4 New York Times Square billboards. And this is nuts, right? And winning a championship. And, not that I've never won championships before, but it had been a while. I mean, I am 61. And so recognizing that at any age, you can be reaching your dreams. And when you are about more than just yourself, I think that just creates this positive energy in the universe and you get rewarded for it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Ah, yes. Yes. Bigger picture to all of it.
So, but just talking about that process, even if you didn't have a why, let's say you didn't, and you just wanted to do that thing because you wanted to, there's a process that you went through to get on your covers. I want you to kind of tell the audience, and I know people call it manifesting, but I think it's more like it's God's laws put in place and they work. And when you put something out into the universe and you say you want to do that, don't you think that things start to show up for you?
Yeah, I definitely think that that's a huge part of it. I think that for me, it definitely started with us doing stuff with Kathy. Like Kathy really opened up my eyes to like that you could have the life that you want and you could dream really big, and
Right.
started doing those vision boards at first. I mean, she was the one who was like, don't put that somebody else on the cover on your vision board, put you on the cover on your vision
I
board. That's
love
what you
that.
want. And that really was like, oh, okay. Like I like you see, like when someone else sees stuff in you, you're like, you see that in me? Like you see that I could do that? And she's like, yeah. So I think a big piece of it is now, and I always make a vision board at the beginning of the year. I don't think it's just going to magically happen, but it just allows it to be like top of mind and trusting that and reminding yourself what you want, what you're trying to work towards in those things. But yeah, definitely all the things that I put on my vision board, they slowly show up. I think that it's funny because they take way longer than you think they're going to take. Like, right, you put it on the board and you want it like that year. It might take like 10 years later, but like they happen. And I do think a big piece of that is really declaring and saying, this is what you want. This is what you're wanting to achieve. So not being scared of that. I think the first time I put myself on Photoshop on the cover, I thought like, what are people going to think of me? I'm like, are people going to be like, who is this girl photoshopping herself on the cover or whatever? And then it's like, no, internally, that's what I want. And I wanted to dream bigger. So many people like have, people holding it back with their limits. Oh, like, how are you going to be able to do that? Whatever. I'm like, why not? Like, let's try it. Like, why not give it a shot and see what happens? Like, what's the worst case scenario of it? You don't get it? Okay, cool. But you work towards it in a different way. So I feel like, yeah, for me, it's always doing a vision board beginning of the year. I put all my stuff on there. I now even go dive deeper into each thing. Like why do I want these things? Like, what is that going to do? Before it used to be like, I just want it. Now it's like, no, why? Like if I have that thing, what is it going to improve in my life? Right. If you're like manifesting for money, it's like, what is that money going to do? It's going to allow you to feel more present with people. It's going to be able to, help you impact more people.
Right.
Like there's a lot of like bigger picture things that I've learned from it, but yeah, I definitely feel like manifesting, you have to put what you want, even if it's crazy, on paper. And then you have to like obviously take your action. I mean, my actions were crazy at first. Like I think I told you, like I photoshopped myself in the cover. I sent it to Oxygen. like I sent it in 2015. Like I have the email. I sent it. This is what I want. Like, da, 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 da. I didn't know anybody. I didn't think anyone was going to respond, but I didn't care. I was like, whatever, I'm just going to put it out there. And then months later, after following up, you know, the editor-in-chief messages me, and she didn't have a cover for me, but she's like, hey, we're doing a photo shoot in Connecticut in a church basement for wrist exercises. Do you want to be in the magazine? And I was like, sure. And it all started from that. And then I started gaining traction and having a great relationship with her. It was less about I'm trying to use her for something. I actually really genuinely liked her. Like, she's an awesome person. And we started working together to figure out, I started getting all my friends on the magazine, like, and all sorts of things. So yeah, I just think definitely, like, obviously writing that down, being very clear, not being scared that this crazy goal that you might have, and putting it out there, and then taking some crazy action. I say it in some of my talks sometimes. I'm like, sometimes you got to be a little crazy to get what you want.
Well, yeah, but also the first step was one of the things you said was saying what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know what you want, you're certainly not going to get it.
No, yes.
You're not, you know, and so calling it out, saying what you want, asking you shall receive, putting it out there, putting it on a vision board, taking action steps toward that thing, realizing you're worthy of having the thing. You're the person to do the thing. Show up like you're the person to do the thing. Even if you don't quite believe it yet, the belief comes from the action, right? And you're a whole lot closer to something that you're actually shooting for. Like, you never make the goals you don't set. And so I think back to that ACL injury. What was the gift? I went to Clayton College of Natural Health while I was down and out. And I had to write a letter in there to I think I wrote it to Anne Louise Gittleman and Dean Ornish. I interviewed them. Of course, I've interviewed her for my podcast many times, but the story in that is I loved her books, and I reached out, and I did like what you did with the oxygen cover. I'm like, I really want to teach on your cruises. Like, I just was like, would be a dream come true to me, and just went on about how much I loved all of her books and everything else. And of course, the first time was no. They had, oh gosh, I almost started to say the guy's name. Shoot. He is kind of famous. He was going to be doing the cruise. And so I was kind of disappointed, but you know what? I did that whole fat flush certification thing and stayed connected. And then the next time they sent me an email, would you like to teach on the cruise? And I am like, yes. And I taught on every cruise after that. I ended up getting asked by her to write, help collaborate and write the sequel to Joni Greggins. I don't know if you know who Joni Greggins was, but she was like a Jane Fonda. She was on Good Morning America. Morning Stretch was her show. And when I was 18, I was working out to that show in North Dakota, where I lived on an air base. And I remember thinking, maybe if I practice, I could do this too. And watching that show. And then I ended up writing the sequel, or collaborating on the sequel for that book. And like, so what I'm saying here is that when you have a dream and you have a vision, write it down. You're 50% more likely to achieve it. Speak it out loud. Tell people. You will freak out how fast that stuff starts to happen. It almost gave me chills when I said that. In fact, it might scare you, because it certainly scared me when I started writing things down and like they came true. But don't let it stop you, because that is the magic. It is saying what you want out in the universe, not what you don't want.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more.
Because like when you are speaking things out, you draw that to you. You do. It's your words have power. So like if you said, like I say, I use this analogy, like where if you're focusing on what you don't want, you actually draw that to you.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. If you're
right?
focusing on the negative, what you don't want, you're literally going to get that. You
So
attract what you are.
you're attracting it, you can't help but attract what your brain is focusing on. I learned this in competition. When you go get on the stage, because I started at 40 and I taught myself how to do this stuff. So like, it wasn't like I was a gymnast. So when you get on that stage, you have to think about, ask your brain, when did I succeed before? Not like my backup move if I fall out of that handstand. Like, don't focus on falling out of the handstand. You have to focus on what you actually want in your life, and then you'll get it.
Yeah. I love it.
Oh my gosh. So this has been so good today. I have really enjoyed having you on. What would you say your top 3 takeaways from competing and challenging yourself have been to share with the audience?
Top 3 take from competing in like fitness and for ninja. Yeah. I think the top 3 takeaways from competing, I feel like would be definitely with any kind of competition, just having some kind of like knowing what your end goal is and like really working backwards to whatever it is that your goal is. That applies obviously to life. So I feel like that's important. When you don't do that and you fly it blindly, it's going to be really hard to achieve whatever goal yours for competing. So I think that was a really big piece of it. I think 2 from competing, like we talked about before, letting go of those expectations. Like, yes, it's okay to have a goal if I want to be, win or whatever this might be, but there's a bigger picture than that as well. So always think about what you're learning, what you're gaining as you're going through this journey of whatever it is that you need from competing. And then 3, I feel like the competing really helped me with my confidence, honestly. When you're on that stage, whenever like whatever stage it might be, I like that. I like this stuff more than like Spartans and stuff like that, because it's very like mind mental. I love being on stage and like performing and stuff like that. So I guess what's really cool about that is when you're doing those things, you can be whoever you want to be. Like I always have like my alter ego show up. And I think that's a great thing to be able to do and show yourself that, hey, I can be whatever I want to be when I show up on the stage.
That's the name of this that's the name of this show today. You can be whatever you want to be.
Yes.
I love that right there. And that's a good ending to an amazing show today. I think you have really exemplified that you can be whatever you want to be. But also, I think, didn't you gain confidence the same way you're teaching everybody else to do pull-ups? You literally did the hard thing. Your confidence comes from doing the hard thing.
Yeah.
And continuing, not quitting and giving up. It comes from doing it again and again until you get the thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Exactly. None of this stuff came like the next day. It all took a very long time.
So I really have loved having you on, and I really think everybody should go to your page for Pull Up Revolution, because I think truly doing pull-ups is definitely a confidence builder, a body builder. It's so many things. So how can they get to the page and sign up? Don't you have something going on right now?
Yeah, actually we host monthly workshops for Pull Up Revolution, and it's great because even if you're not trying to learn your pull up, we actually teach a lot of mindset stuff in there because it's a big piece of it. So if you ever want to go to a free workshop that we're holding, actually we're calling it a master class, because I think we're like, we're gonna call it a master class. So if you want to come to the free workshops, we have great guests. Sometimes it's me. A lot of times I have a lot of women who are like 70 and up come on the show, like, ninja warriors and stuff like that, to show like that this is possible at all ages. But yeah, you can find that at www.angela-gargano.com/workshop. So any workshop that's going on will be on that page. You can sign up for free and we'll send you the recording after it's done. But it's a great opportunity to be with a bunch of great women, no matter what, even if your pull-up isn't your goal. So we have that every single month to really help encourage people, because sometimes people need a little encouraging to get, like, they don't want to just buy a program, which I totally get. Like, they're like, I'm nervous. What if I can't do it? Whatever. So we love to go through and teach you a bunch of things first to show you how possible it really is to do it. So it really helps build the confidence when you go into the workshop.
And I would be remiss if I didn't, I meant to ask you this, so I'm just backing up to the point when you mentioned that you had a gym and you decided you had that dream, you were done. I think it's hard for people sometimes to disconnect from what they've always been doing and recognize when they're ready to move on. Was it scary for you when you closed the gym and moved into your parents' basement? And just like, how long did it take for you to transition from that? And then actually you're making more money now being online.
Oh yeah, definitely making way more now. I feel like how long did it take the transition? Let's see. So definitely hard to say goodbye to something, but what I also, someone had told me I was more worried about the people, honestly, the people that I was helping. And I don't know who it was, but someone was like, they're literally going to be
feel
okay.
like you're going to disappoint them, right?
Like they're going to be fine. They're going to go to the next gym. It's going to be fine. So I made sure that I set them up for success with like, gyms around the area to make sure they were successful. But I started to think about too, like, what would these people do if the roles are reversed? If they really wanted to leave, they would leave. You have to do what's good for yourself. And the people who care about you and are like, they're going to understand if you decide to pivot. So I think the hardest part for me was the people. Transition wise, when I left, I mean, I actually lost money on the gym. So that's why I was living in my dad's basement. So that was really tough. Cause I was like, shit, I like literally don't have any money from doing all of this work and doing all these things.
Because you're spending it all on freaking rent and
oh yeah, I mean, no one does
equipment.
that with gyms. I'm like literally the overhead, everything, like, and I'm just like literally negative. I'm like, cool, all right. So even if I have a ton of people, it's like not enough. But again, probably if I stuck through it longer, I probably could have figured it out, like I did with my online stuff now. But happy I was able to transition. And then yeah, online took a little while. I had to do a bunch of things. I got a coach and I learned how to even coach online and all that stuff. And then I had to figure out technology wise what I wanted. And I started with just one-on-ones online, which I think is very important. Like start with some one-on-ones first, make sure you kind of got your groove of how you're going to deliver this so that they like, they're going to be able to understand and do what it is that you're trying to provide for them. It's way different when you're not with them one-on-one. So do the one-on-ones first. And then I noticed after the one-on-ones, okay, cool. I'm ready to take that same program and put it into a group. And then the next thing was now it's an evergreen. So some people will just start right away with like an evergreen course. I don't really think that's the way to go. I think really try and understand who the people are online and how they work. And then go to,
They stop. If you make that evergreen,
yeah,
they stop using it, stop going back to it, stop growing.
yeah, or sometimes it'd be crickets, like no one's gonna buy it. So it's like really good to go through the process and figure out what you want it, and then start to sit back and ask yourself, just like you were with the gym, like, what do you want your life to look like? So then you can decide where you're gonna pinpoint. Are you just gonna stick to doing a ton of one-on-ones online? Do you like that? But now you're doing your time for your money again. Like, how do you feel there? Do you feel really good with the group? Was that too much? Is it too overwhelming? Or do you like, hey, I want an evergreen where like now after, putting it all together, I can hire coaches and they can take care of it so that I can be more hands off and more just like the face of it or whatever it might be. So I think really important to go through those steps and then step back and say, what do I actually want my life to look like? Because depending on how much work you're willing to put in and what you want your life to look like, I think that's important. I think that's what coaches didn't tell me at the beginning.
Right.
I almost went back, I almost transitioned from the gym to something harder for a while. Like it was like, actually like, I was even more stressed because I had too many clients again. It was like almost like the same repeat. And then I had to step back and say, no, what do I want my actual life to look like? And I think people forget to ask themselves what they actually want them, like about their personal stuff. Like, what do you want your personal life to look like? Because it's easy to get sucked into the business and the people and just keep doing what they want you to do. But what do you want to do? Like,
so that is so funny that you're saying that, because it's that I think again, sometimes it's discovering what you don't want helps lead you to what you actually have been wanting to do, or that you do want, but you weren't doing it because you were thinking, like what you said, of all of the other people. And so totally right now I'm working on a big ticket, like item, and it's going to be limited I'm only going to take so many people. It's like where I really want to work one-on-one with these people to help them transform. And what I've been wanting to do with people, they're also going to have a commitment level, right? And so I've been working on it, and now I'm like kicking it into gear. And I think recognizing again, you are one person.
Yeah.
You might hire people, but people are not you. Okay.
No.
You might
They'll
be
have
able
to take control of all those people.
yeah. And then you have to be, that's another whole thing. So sometimes you have to look at it like, what do I want my life to look like? How can I simplify this? How can I make people really, really happy and make myself happy too? Because, you know, as a fitness professional, you deserve to make a living too. And I think in gyms so much, you know, if you are a small gym, you're paying huge amounts of rent. You're competing with these other organizations out there that have bigger budgets and advertising and people. And so you can easily be burning yourself out. And that doesn't do your clients any good. It doesn't do you any good. Right. So I love the whole teaching of today, where you're really speaking to people out there about like the transitions you went through, and think about like, what do you want your life to look like? Because right, we have to be intentional, and or that stuff doesn't show up.
Exactly. And that's exactly like when I relaunched some of the stuff on my online program, like I got rid of a lot of things I was offering with whatever, like, let's say like they paid a certain amount and I gave. This time I got rid of a lot of those things, and they're literally fine. They're doing just as good. They didn't even need that. Like they're it's yeah. So it's really figuring out, okay, cool. How much time do I want to put in it? I want to put this many hours into each week. That's it. Cool. That's what you have to really make sure you sit down and look at. Otherwise, you're going to spend like, again, it's going to turn to the same thing.
And you know what that calls for you to be really honest with yourself, right? And be like, you know what? I'm doing this thing. I really don't love it.
Yes.
Or yeah.
I'm like, I kind of hate this again.
And it isn't really moving the needle. And I think like that right there is just like a reality check, and learning how to be honest with ourselves when we are ready to move on, and letting go of things that no longer serve us. So hopefully everybody gets a little more courage today after talking with Angela, and to go after their dreams, to recognize they're worthy of them, and to let go of the things that no longer serve them, that they don't love. Like, just let go of them and realize you're going to be okay, because what, a million other things filled that space.
Yeah, you're going to be good. You're going to be fine.
Oh my God. All right. Well, I have enjoyed, but I got to let Angela go now. And
this is great. It was so great catching up with you.
I have enjoyed talking to you so much, and I look forward to see what your journey is in the future. And I wish you all the luck with Pull Up Revolution.
Thank you so much.
And thanks everybody for listening to this episode of the Sisterhood of Sweat. Make sure to check out Pull Up Revolution. Let us know what resonated with you on this episode, and what things are you going to let go of. Bye, everybody.